Here we are on beautiful Jones Street.
You saw Ted Jones.
So I worked in a barbershop that was, yeah, it could get a little, yeah, I got some story. What you want?
Did anyone ever get mad at you at the haircut? They didn't like their cut?
Yeah, I had some situations. Yeah. You want to hear about it?
We want to hear about it.
Let me see. I had one situation.
Get in here, dog. We got hilarious ATL comedian Chris Brown in the mix.
Yeah.
You want to throw on those headphones? You don't have to either way. All black, dude. True New York. I appreciate that. Yeah. Chris, what's good, dude?
It's good to see you.
How are you, man?
I'm good, man.
Good to see you, dude. So right before you came on the pod, dude, I was looking at my hair and I was like, I need to figure out when I'm gonna get this haircut. And I saw that you get a lot of inspiration from barbershops initially. Before you started your comedy career. So what's it like, dude, having a barbershop where you can go and talk shit? Like, I've never really had that in my life, dude. Because I'm like, every 6 months I get a buzz cut. And it doesn't really matter where I go.
Yeah, white guys are not really like into like barbershop culture like that though, you know.
I would like to be, but I don't know what we would talk about.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's the frequency of how often y'all get your haircut though. You know, I think, you know, it's more like like maybe a couple, 2-3 times a year, maybe.
Yeah, I think that there are definitely some white guys though that go like every couple weeks.
I think it's starting to be
shape up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is some guys, but it's dope. I mean, you know, going into a barbershop, you know, you see people. You know, you start to develop relationships with the clients, the barbers. You know, you start to see, you know, the life changes in people's lives. You know, it's like really like a community though. You know, like the barbershop has always been a staple in the black community. So. And
you were born in Atlanta?
I was actually born in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't really talk about that too.
Oh, word. Yeah, my bad. Didn't mean to.
Nah, it's cool though. I'm over here false claiming, man.
Yeah. When did you move to ATL?
I moved to Atlanta when I was like 6 though. So I don't really have like a strong connection to Dallas though. So Atlanta is really where I was raised.
Like where you started school.
Yeah, that's why I went to high school at. That's what, you know, I was raised at. So that's like, you know, what I claim, because that's really what made me though. You know, Dallas.
How old were you when you came here to New York?
I moved to New York when I was 2012. So that was like maybe 12, 13 years ago. I was like 30, 31. But I went to school in New Jersey. I went to undergrad at Rutgers though. So
okay, bro. I went to UConn.
Oh, you went to UConn?
So I was in the Big East.
Okay, when you came out.
People don't know about Big East.
Big East?
2014, I graduated.
Oh, okay.
So I played tennis at UConn, and that was like right around the time that Rutgers got rid of their men's program.
Okay,
I got
you.
Cutting to save
I can
money.
see you playing tennis. You got
bro,
like pro tennis vibes though. Yeah. You got pro tennis vibes though, you know?
That was the plan. That was the plan. But tennis, if you don't start when you're super young, if you're not on the court by the time you're like 4 or 5, 6 years old, I don't want to make excuses, but there are just so many kids that are out there at the young age. Maybe their dad or mom's a tennis pro and they're just feeding them balls on the court for years. And, you know, being in like Russia and all these places where kids just like fucking want it. And guys, like, you know tennis at all?
Not really though.
You know Novak Djokovic?
I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, so he's like the best tennis player of all time now. He's number one in the world. But he was playing tennis when there were bombs going off in Serbia. Oh, so you know it's a lot different than playing tennis.
So he was okay. That's serious business though.
Yeah, he just wanted that shit.
I got you. But man. So you was at UConn, huh?
Yeah,
UConn is
and I was born in New Brunswick.
You was born in New Brunswick? That's right. We did. We were talking about that though. Yeah.
So Chris, you and I met for the first time like a week ago, bro.
Yeah, we were hosting the show.
Nice little combo. Yeah.
We was. I was over there complaining about money.
Dude, all good though. It happens, bro. Happens in our line of work. But you're all over the city, man. I know you shot an album or recorded an album in July.
I recorded an album.
So how did that go and what did that look like?
Yeah, man. So I recorded my first album. I did it on my own, independently. I didn't have a label behind me. I ended up signing with a label after I recorded it. You know what sparked the idea of creating an album? Things were slowing up for me in the city, man, like spot-wise. And I kind of can tell, like, you know, I was starting to kind of get into that bitter place, you know, where you start to complain, you ain't getting. So I was just like, yo, let me just stay proactive, let me stay positive, and let me just do something on my own. So I was just like, yo, let me record my own album. And it was something that I kept saying I was gonna do, but I'd been procrastinating for a while. So it's kind of like that was really like what triggered it. It was just like, yo, stuff was slowing down. So I was like, yo, let me keep moving. And it was probably one of the best things I could have ever did in like the 10 years I've been doing comedy. Like, it's to the point now that I'm selling people like, yo, record an album, man. Like, do it. Like, it was scary, it was hard, and it was frustrating. But like, I'm so happy. It's actually coming out December 15th, man.
Let's go, dude. Yeah. All right, so this this episode will be out this coming Monday, which is the 11th, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so in a few days. So what's the day of the week?
It's going to be December 15th. I think that's a Friday.
All right, let's go. Midnight. So this Friday at midnight, you check out Chris Brown comedy. Where can we find it, though?
It's called I Just Look Like This. You can catch it on Spotify, Apple Music.
Nice, bro.
Everything, man. It's actually being streamed on Sirius XM now, too, though. You know what I mean?
What a perfect time to come on the pod. So how does that album look? Is it like there are 12 different tracks with like 4-minute jokes, or what does it look like?
So it's 15 tracks. It's a little shorter than a lot of albums.
You, by the way.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. I see you holding the mic. I got.
Yeah, dog. Well, I want you to be more comfortable so you can like animate with your arms.
It's cool. I was just trying to make sure. Yeah, definitely. I think
all right, cool.
I was just trying to figure out how I was gonna do it. But so it's 15 tracks. I kind of cut it up and I blended certain, tracks so it could like have like a nice little track length to it, because in the city of New York, when you're doing comedy, it's like so rapid fire. You can get to a punchline 15-20 seconds, but like for Sirius XM and just to have a solid track, I mean, you can do like, you kind of, sometimes you have some jokes that have like a similar premise that you can all put together and you can blend them in. So its average track is about 2 minutes long, so I got some 4-minute tracks. But it's about 15 tracks, and it's probably about between 30 and 40 minutes.
So did you record, or you went on stage for how long? And then
so the first show, I did 2 shows, July 20th.
Yeah.
And I did a 7 p.m. show and I did a 9 p.m. show. The first show, I was so nervous about capturing, and catching everything that I wanted. So I kept it kind of tight. Like, I remember going to the manager at the time. She was like, because a club, I did it at West Side Comedy Club, and it's just like, it's just a regular night to them. You recording, but it's just like, so she was like, well, how much time you gonna do? I was like, I'm gonna keep it to maybe like 30, 40. She's like, well, I need you to at least do 45 minutes so I can drop checks. So I was just saying it to say how nervous I was, because I didn't want to throw anything. Because I started second guessing a lot of material like right before. I was like, dang, is this gonna hit? Is this gonna hit? Is this gonna hit? Maybe I should take this out. So the first show I did probably about 40 minutes, right? And it came out well, to the point where I felt comfortable with the 40. I would probably about 30 minutes of it. So I knew I had enough to the point for the second show I did like 55, and I just threw out a lot of stuff.
Mess around a little bit more.
Yeah, I played around. I felt so much more comfortable. And then I already knew I had so much from the first show that I really threw a lot, and I did probably about 55 for the second show. Really let my head down.
Going up to making this album and you said you procrastinated a little bit. Was there a point where you were like, all right, I got to use all this material, I kind of want to do new jokes, or what did that look like?
Well, I've been doing comedy for like 10 years. And so there were a lot of jokes that I was just tired of doing, that I kind of wanted to retire. It's just like a part of my life that I was married and I got divorced and I'm in a new relationship. So it was a lot of stuff that I kind of was just tired of talking about that really just wasn't me. So I kind of wanted to do something where I could just put it out. Then I also had new material too that kind of like, exemplified like the growth of me as a comedian. Like, I'm a better writer now. I feel like I'm a better performer. I'm picking better material. So it was like a combination of like getting rid of old stuff, but also like bringing in some of the new stuff, But I got on the road. So like I decided to do it like maybe 6 or 7. I say probably in January I decided I was gonna do it, and I decided to book some road dates just so I could get used to like doing longer sets. So
between January and July.
Yeah, so I said I was gonna get out twice a month. And I just set up my own shows, reached out to venues, and I was doing these 45-minute sets. So just so I could kind of have a basis and get comfy, and just kind of so I could have like a streamline of what I was going to talk about. So I did that from January, February, March, April. And most of the time, people take probably a lot more time to record an album. I'm sure it's like, but I'd already had material, you know, so it was just kind of like a fine tuning that I was doing, you know.
Nice, man. So guys, check that out. December 15th.
December 15th.
Brown, baby.
Yep.
Dude, so starting your comedy career, did you feel that when you were in Atlanta, there was like a ceiling to where you needed to move to a New York or start traveling the country? Or what?
Well, you know what's funny? I didn't even start in I started comedy in New York. So I was already just living in New York. I actually moved up to New York. Like, I think I was acting at first. I took some acting classes, and I moved back up to New York because I went to school in Jersey. I was always like, I loved the tri-state area. So I was just up in New York, and I met a pro comedian that I didn't even know. I was cutting his hair in the shop. Like, I didn't even know who he was, you know, because like I really wasn't even like watching stand-up comedy like that, to be totally honest with you though. And yeah, man, I met him, and you know, he said he was a comedian. I thought I was like funny. People always told me I was funny, and he just kind of like inspired me. He actually was kind of mean. He told me like, "Yo, quit talking about comedy, and, you know, unless you're gonna do it." You know,
bro, yeah, because I'm sure he's heard it hundreds of times, if not thousands.
And it's funny, I kind of feel the same way now. Like when I meet people that are like, oh, you know, I can do comedy.
I'm gonna try it,
yeah, and it's just like, yo, either do it, quit talking to me about it. Yeah, so that's kind of. So I actually was already here.
Do you have any good stories from the barbershop?
What good stories?
Maybe like somebody came in, he was asking something, he was being difficult. Or maybe
I got some scary stories in the shop, man.
Yeah, let's hear the scary stories.
You want to hear some scary stuff? I don't know, dog. Man. Like you might blow up, Ted.
Well,
this might hit out,
bro. We'll put it in the beginning of the episode, so people are like, "What?"
I mean, I worked in a barbershop in Southwest Atlanta. I'm from Southwest Atlanta, which is kind of like.
So what part is that? Like what town?
That's like just like the West Side. It's just the city of Atlanta. It's just the West Side. So it's just kind of like, you know, people kind of consider it a little rough. So I worked in a barbershop that was, yeah, it could get a little. Yeah, I got some story. What you want?
How much were the haircuts
at that time?
You charge?
I think we were charging like $15, $20.
And how long would that take you usually? 30 minutes more?
Yeah. You know, sometimes it depends on how many people you got. At that time when I was cutting hair, I really wasn't as focused on time management. So I think I would take, but you got to speed up because you got clients waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I say 15. I say it depends. 30, between 30 and an hour, you know. Somebody tipping you good, you might spend a little bit extra time, you know.
But, anyone ever get mad at you at the haircut? They didn't like their cut?
Yeah, I had some situations. Yeah. You want to hear about it?
We want to hear about it.
Let me see. I had one situation where I never forget this. I was cutting this dude. You know, that's another thing too. So it was a hood shop, and it's like it used to be a lot of street dudes that used to come in there though. So it's a lot of drug dealers coming there though. So that used to be the biggest fear, is to like mess up somebody that you knew was in the streets, because you just don't know how they gonna react. Sure. You know. So I remember this one dude came in the shop. I know he was from Miami, and I could tell he was street because at that time it was a lot of Jeezy. You know him, Young Jeezy? Yeah. So he was always, he was just talking about how he loved Jeezy, and he was telling me why he loved Jeezy, Young Jeezy. And one reason why, because I didn't understand why. I was like, yo, why?
He's an Atlanta dude, right? Yeah.
Well, he was from Miami, but he was
Young Jeezy.
Yeah, Young Jeezy. He's from Atlanta though. Okay. And so he was telling me, I was like, yo, like why everybody going crazy about Young Jeezy and this dude whose hair messed up?
Good question.
He was like, one reason why everybody loves all the street dudes really gravitate to Young Jeezy is because Jeezy was quoting prices for dope that are super accurate that we getting right now. So he was like, a lot of rappers talk about like, you know, what they get for a key and all of this. And he was like, yo, those old prices. So I knew you might as well though, but you're not in it right now though. So Jeezy was quoting, he was using sayings that like drug dealers were using like currently though. So it's just like somebody like that's a rapper and he's like talking about comedy and he's like, you know, using like,
I got the light, so I wrapped up my set.
Yeah, exactly. Or something like that. You know, and it's just like, yo, this dude really is in it. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I remember him being, you know, really, I was like, okay, this guy is really pretty strict. And I remember he told me to go with the grain on his hair though. But I had like a really good barber teacher, and he used to always tell me that it's better to go against the grain because I was kind of young, but I went against the grain on his hair though. And he didn't say anything initially, but I remember seeing him like 2 weeks later. So I'm thinking, okay, this is my return client. So I'm like, yo, what's up? And he like, nah, man, you fucked my hair up. And everybody heard it. and I heard it. And like, yo,
so
it was.
Everyone turns off their buzzers, gets a little quiet.
It was tense though, because it was tense for one. Anybody tell you that you fucked up their hair,
yeah, and everyone else here.
And then he was like vocal about it. He told me. Then I knew who he was, so it could have went either way though. So it was funny though at the time though, because it was just like, dang, and everybody heard it. And you know, I'm thinking that's nothing to. It's like you thinking, you know, because he ain't say nothing then, so it must have grew back like he didn't want it. Because at the time, you know, because I was thinking like, oh, what's up, man? You know, we were talking about Jeezy. What's up? And he's like, nah,
Did he tip you well after that first haircut, though?
I mean, I don't remember him not tipping well. He gave me what it was. But that was a funny, and I remember like, yeah, like my feelings were hurt. It's one thing for your feelings to be hurt and you scared.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of nervous. I was like, yo, I don't know what he. But I mean, outside of that though, you know, yeah, I mean, you go mess people's hair up. Though.
Why did he like Jeezy so much though?
You said why?
Why did he like Jeezy?
Oh, because you know he was authentic though. He was like he was talking about the prices or something like that though.
So that's how you knew that he was a drug dealer.
That's kind of how I knew though. You know what I mean? Because I think Jeezy was on the radio or something something he said like you heard the new Jeezy album. I was like, oh yeah, it's alright. But you know, I'm just a regular dude. I'm a civilian, so I'm like, yeah, Jeezy cool. Yeah. I like, you know,
I love that saying too. Sometimes, man, he's a civilian. Leave him alone.
Yeah. So I was a civilian, so I was like, yeah, it sounds good. But he was like crazy about him. And when he told me that, I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this guy's probably, you know. So that was I don't know if that's a funny story, more so of a sad story. You know what I mean?
Young Thug is probably my favorite Atlanta rapper.
Yeah.
You like Young Thug?
I like Young Thug,
bro. Man. How much time do you think he's gonna do?
You know, it's funny. I was just. You watched the Daily Podcast?
Nah, maybe I've heard of it.
You listen to the Daily Podcast? Maybe. But the Daily Podcast just recently had a whole segment about Young Thug and the Rico, and they were talking about how like the lyrics or whatnot are gonna be like.
Yeah, they're really using them.
Yeah, I don't really think he's gonna get no time like that though. You think he is though?
I could see him getting like maybe 5 to 7 years type. I can't see him getting more than that though.
I don't know. I actually think he's gonna get off though.
You think he's gonna get off?
I think he's gonna get off though.
I feel like there's so many people involved in the case though that have been
like, yeah, that's what they were saying
by him, you know, to do things.
Well, yeah, but I don't think you should listen to the Daily Podcast because they don't really have anything that sticks though. You know, like I mean, I don't know. I'm not really keeping up like with the case every day though, but from what the Daily Podcast is like, they just trying to use his lyrics against him.
Yeah.
And he's saying like, yeah, I'm a rapper, I'm entertainment. Right, I'm saying this. So
that's what he said about being a blood too. He's like, man, that's entertainment.
Exactly. You know, so like to me, I don't really, I mean, but I don't know. I just hope because Young Thug is I like Young Thug.
Love him, bro.
Yeah. He's super creative.
Most recent albums he dropped when he was in prison was sick. There were like 8 bangers that I still have on my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Like, he's been in jail for like almost 18 months now.
Yeah.
I think maybe even more than that.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about Young Thug? You can tell Young Thug is real street because he put on the dress and the city still didn't turn on him. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, he had the stick.
Yeah. Let me say this.
I remember the dress because I had a stick. That means gun, white people.
Hey, I know. You know what's crazy? I remember somebody was talking about how like real street dudes wasn't gonna turn their back on Young Thug, and they was just like, yo, there were people like, yo, how you gonna be a Young Thug fan? He wearing a dress, and street dudes was just being like, nah, he just different. You know what I mean? That was the excuse.
I like
so,
that.
Yeah, you know, so like that's just you know how like real you got to be able to pull that off, and people in the city still get behind you though. You know, so that's like, I mean, not to say that there's anything wrong with that though, but I'm just saying, you know, yeah.
How do you feel about Gunna though being a snitch?
It's the thing about Gunna though. Well, I mean, you know, like I feel like Gunna. I never really saw Gunna as like somebody that was like, I think he's more of an artist than he is a street dude.
Yeah,
though.
I think he got jammed up. In
you know, so like you just expect him to do what he's, you know, like I think you can roll it, but like at the end of the day, like, you know, that's like somebody like me, you know, like you can't hold me accountable. Right. You know, like I'm a regular dude. You know what I mean? You can't hold me to those same rules though. So to me, I'm not surprised he did what he did. You know, I'm not saying, you know, I agree with it. I feel like if you're gonna run with those dudes, but at the end of the day, you know, if he's not really built like that, would you think he gonna stand tall for you? Yeah. You know?
I think there's gotta be something to be said in the beginning of it. You know Jimmy Iovine, the head of Universal Records? Yeah. He's like, he has all these artists, and I heard 50 Cent was was like vocal about Jimmy Iovine being like, look, I'm a snitch. If you guys talk about anything street here, like I'm a snitch, man. Like I'm a businessman.
Yeah, I think it's that, I think it's important, if, to be clear and honest about like where you stand. Like, I've always been a civilian. I've never been involved in the streets.
Yeah.
And so because of that, people have never, if anything, I've been protected in situations because it's just like, nah, man, like that's a good dude. Dreams. Yeah. He don't get involved. He's not trying to do nothing. But like if you, so you can't really hold certain people, but I mean, at the end of the day, I can see why people would be frustrated with it because, from the outside looking in, it look like he rolling with him, but then it's just like you turn your back on him.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not surprised. I don't really think Gunna was like, a real like in the streets like that though. You know what I mean?
Let's go back a few years. You got divorced?
I got divorced, Doc. Yep.
Was that like an inspiration for a lot of material? Yeah, and how old were you when you got married?
I was pretty young. We were only married for like 2 years though. But we were together for 6 years though.
Was that like a high school sweetheart?
Nah, it was
Radker sweetheart?
Nah, not even that. It was we actually met in Atlanta and we were together for 2 years and we did long distance. And it's funny too, I knew her a while back. I knew her when she had a boyfriend. And then I heard she, my girl probably ain't gonna like the fact I'm talking about you. Like, I'm talking about your ex. You on a podcast?
I asked about
you on a podcast talking about your ex. Talk about me. Anyway, and then and I remember I had just moved up to New York, and then I found that she had broke up with a boy. I knew her, like I would see her out. We had mutual friends, and we dated for like 2 years. We were in a relationship. We did the long distance, and then she moved up, and we lived together for 2 years. And
she came to New York.
She moved to New York, and then we got married. And it just didn't work out. I think it was a disconnect between, where our lives were headed. She was from the South. She was from Atlanta. I think she moved up to New York to be with me. She never really liked New York. She kind of wanted the South. She didn't really like me being the stand-up. That had a lot to do with why I was kind of inconsistent with stand-up because she really didn't want to be with an entertainer though, like the late nights. Some women are not with that, so that really wasn't her thing though. But once we got divorced, and that's when I really hit comedy full force. And I mean, I got some divorce material on the album though. Yeah, I mean, comedy is what is tragedy. So like that's anytime something bad happens, you definitely can get some good material from that. Though.
Did you feel like it was at the time a tragedy for you?
Was it
like when you got married, were you like, I'm actually going to be with this girl for the next 70 years or something like that? Or
I think most people do plan, but what's funny? I think we both went in it because we both agreed that we were going to wait 2 years before we had kids. So I think we both realized like, yo, we gonna, but like, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think you would ever, I don't know anybody that would marry somebody and not plan on being with them forever. I think I think you look at this person like, yeah, I could rock out, for the rest of my life. Yeah, I mean, I think they get incorporated into your life to the point where you just like, yo, this works. This is, like I don't see myself not being with you until you get to a point where the pain of being with them, is worse than the pain being without them.
Yeah, I wonder if she had an image of what your stand-up comedy life was going to look like in New York as opposed to what it actually was, because like the best thing that would happen would be you're up 7 nights a week and you're getting home at 1 a.m. or something like that.
I mean, to her defense, when we first met, I just started doing open mics and I was kind of like tiptoeing.
What were you doing other besides that?
I was just cutting hair. I was working in the barbershop. Okay. Yeah. So I had just started and I wasn't as, when you first start doing comedy, like you don't really, I mean, for me, I didn't hit the ground running, I enjoyed it. I realized it was what I probably should be doing, but to be totally honest with you, I didn't necessarily want to put the work that I knew I needed to do to be a stand-up comedy. Like early on, I understood what it was going to take. It just wasn't about being funny. It's like you think about what I do now, like, getting on stage, writing, I mean, watching the news. I mean, just, it's a lot that you got to do. I mean, sending out emails, just branding yourself. Like, I just wasn't ready to do that in the beginning. So, for her, it was kind of like, all right, well, he a comedian, but, he ain't really a comedian, But then we started to really have some issues in our relationship. And then I started to realize that comedy was like a healthy outlet, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't really, I wasn't cheating. So I was like, all right, well, let me get on stage and talk about, what's going on. So then I started to really realize how therapeutic it was for me, at least. And that's when I think I've always been naturally funny. Even in the beginning, I think people appreciate it. Likewise too, man. You hosted the hell out of that show. So I think people started to realize like, oh, okay, this guy's pretty talented. And then I started to be like, all right, well, maybe. And at that point, it was just like, yo, you out at night. She kind of had some insecurity issues. I think she had some baggage from a previous relationship. So I think she was constantly thinking about me cheating. Any woman is going to be like that in a relationship. Yeah. If you for stand up, you making women kiki.
Girls are drinking. Maybe you're drinking. Well, not you. But
and then we above average when it comes to nice looking comedians. You know what I mean? So like it ain't so. Yeah, I think that was always an issue. And
was there a fight that happened that you were like, all right, this probably I'm gonna try and make it work, but this isn't gonna work?
What's funny, Matt? I never forget. I think when I really realized, she asked me, she was like, yo, you got to choose between me and comedy though. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She and I thought she was joking at first, but she was serious though. And I was just like, because my thing is, and not to talk bad about her, she's cool, but like I just didn't understand if you really care for somebody, you love somebody, if you see something that really brings them joy and happiness, that you wouldn't want them to do that, like, so to me, that's when I was like, there's got to be a disconnect. Because I'm not like that. If I'm in a relationship and like, if it's something that my girl, she loves doing, I feel like she's excited, and she's, I'm like, yo, you do that. That means you're going to be a better you. You're going to be better than me. But for her, it was like, nah, like I want, and I was just like, yo, like that's not gonna work for me. So I think at that point I realized like, yeah, this might not be what I need to be doing right now, though.
Yeah, in previous relationships that haven't worked out, obviously for me, I feel like there was some sort of jealousy that I was out having fun, having a good time without her.
Exactly.
And that's like the worst feeling ever. You go on stage, you have the best set.
Yeah.
You're taking the train home. You're happy. Then you get to your apartment and then it's a fight.
And that's exactly what it was though. Like she would be mad. Then it's just like, yo, you trying to hang. And that's one thing I appreciate about my girl right now though. And to her defense is that now I'm actually, she met me when I was a little further along. You know what I mean? I'm generating money doing stand-up. You know what I mean? Like I'm a better stand-up. So when she first met me, I met her 2 years ago. I was already like, working, like I wasn't making a whole lot of money, but it was like, oh, okay, this guy really does that. Yeah. So it was easier for her to accept that this was what I was doing. But she is somebody that's, just a lot more supportive when it comes to that regard though,
Well, I think you made yourself over the years a more full and complete person because you're like, all right, yes, stand up is really what I'm doing.
This is a part of who I am.
Yeah,
exactly. And then she knows that that's what you getting. That's what comes along with me though.
Yeah. Like
this is what, and she's super cool about that. She realizes that sometimes I got to be out even when I don't have a show. Hanging is so important. Dude. So she's cool with that. So she understands that aspect.
I think in the beginning years of a comedian's career, we're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll be working 4 days a week and then the next month we're only working 2 days a week. And it's just like the ups and downs of comedy. And it's so hard for another person to understand the ups and downs of comedy. Like maybe they're at a job and they know that they're going to make $75K in the entire year. It's like we could make fucking $50,000 one year and then $20 million the next year.
Exactly. Yeah. So they don't want to let us go either though. Yeah. It's like this is a gamble, And then on top of that, the emotional roller coaster that comes with doing stand up. Like being a creative person, and like trying to generate money, being creative and like, me and my girl, we planning on having kids. So I need to figure out how I'm,
Is there a timeline for that?
As soon as possible.
She's get married first.
Nah, we probably gonna have kids first though.
Let's go. That's fucking 2023 shit. I love that, man. I love that.
Well, my girl is a lot older too though, so she realizes if we've been together 2 years. If you waiting for a ring before we had kids, this might. It might take a little longer. So
and I think the dynamic is changing. Like it's gonna over the next 10 years, it's just gonna be way more acceptable to have kids. I think before getting married, especially this day and age with all this marriage falling apart and everything. There's so many distractions.
Then on top of that too, when you've already been married and you divorced, women ain't running to marry you again, like to be the second, you know what I mean? Wife. Right. They want to find something that you ain't already got. They like, oh, you been married, but you ain't got no kids. All right, let me have some kids. That's something, you know? Right. So that's one thing too, though. That's like, oh, okay. I don't think she running to be, you know, the second wife. You know, she rather had kids than be like, all right, I got you. I got his kids. We got a human being together. As opposed to like just, you know, being like, all right, because it's just like, yo, he might look like he changed wives, like he changed.
Big expensive party and then that's it, the wedding, you know?
Yeah, man. But like, yeah, like me and my ex-wife, we didn't even have a wedding. We just eloped in Central Park. Yeah, man. Yeah, damn. Yeah. But what about you though? But go ahead. What you about to say?
No. Go ahead. You were about to ask me a question, bro.
You got an old lady with you?
Nah, man.
Single? You out here in these streets.
Man. Hey, I'm in the streets, dog.
Hey, the spot is looking real.
Thank you, man. But for the most part, it's just really for podcast guests, dude. So I appreciate you coming and sitting on the couch, dude. Okay. I want to get back to maybe your high school days. You play sports in high school?
I played basketball, man.
Oh, yeah?
I played basketball in college too for a little bit, yeah.
You played at Rutgers?
Division III, though. Let me clarify that, though.
Oh, so what do you mean? You transferred?
Nah, so Rutgers it's funny, too, because, like, you know, when I tell people that, I got to clarify. Because, you know, you see how excited you get. Yeah, you're like, yo, Rutgers D1? And it's just like, nah, it's Division III, which is like, yeah. So Rutgers has 3 different campuses. They got Rutgers New Brunswick, which is the main campus, Division I Big East team. Then they got Rutgers Camden, which is Division III in the New Jersey Athletic Conference, NJAC. And then you got Rutgers Newark, which is also Division III in the New Jersey
That's
Athletic.
where my grandparents met, by the way.
Oh, where? Rutgers University Newark? Yeah. Oh, where? That's where my mom went to school.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, where?
All right, dope.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. So, so I played ball. I played ball in high school too, though, you know. Do
you ever think that you wanted to play at a higher level?
Pro?
Division I?
You know what? I probably
maybe could. Overseas. Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was probably D2, maybe low level D1 at best.
What's like low level D1 though? Like Acorn State.
Yeah,
Akron.
like just one. I probably could have rode the bench on like this one of them no name Division I teams and like the like. I don't know, like one of those conferences in the like Stetson or something. Okay, you know, Florida, like Georgia, something like that though. Like I probably, but like I was okay. I think I caught on kind of late. My learning curve for the game, I actually didn't really fully understand. Like my basketball IQ didn't really catch on to like sophomore, junior year in college. You know, so I think that had a lot to do with it. And I was undersized. I'm 5'9". Skill wise, I was all right. But and I also didn't play my senior year. I played sophomore and junior year though. But my senior year, I got into it with my coach and he cut me my senior year though.
What happened?
You know what it was, man? Like it was the craziest story. So my freshman year in high school, I went to this school and I didn't. My grades were messed up, so I didn't play my freshman year. But I played my sophomore year, which was JV. Then my mom transferred me to this other school, like in the north side, because it was just like a better school. The other school was like bad. I wasn't even eligible to play, but the coach wanted me to play so bad, he ended up giving another address. And I started my junior year. Like he really,
Wait, the coach that cut you got you another address?
Yeah, like he really went out of his way. He got me an address. So like he really really wanted me to play. My junior year, I started like, you know, a couple games and then we was like falling out. And I kind of had an attitude. I was kind of cocky, you know. I was pretty good. And then over the summertime, I ended up playing AAU basketball and I wasn't really around for like the summer league and like the little summer practices. And, you know, I really got a lot better and I was super cocky. I just, you know, I went from, everybody knew I was going to be the man. You know,
did you think you were going to play D1 ball at this particular time?
At this time, I thought I probably could have got it. I mean, to me, I would have just took a Division II. I mean, he according to him, he said he had some schools looking at me. In my junior year, he said some schools were inquiring about me. So I knew, you know, with the skill set I had from like previous years, and then I was playing AAU ball all summer, you know, I really developed my game. I thought I was going to be, and I was super arrogant, and he cut me, bro.
Why? What'd you do?
I remember we had these practices, and I just was like...
You just took off your shirt and threw your jersey.
I really wasn't doing anything. We fell out my junior year, though, towards the end of the year, because he was benching me. And... yeah, my senior, I just think it was kind of cruel what he did though. Because you know what's funny, man? Like the parents tried to get me back on the team. The principal tried to get me back on the team. It was like a big deal, bro. Like for him to cut me, that's it was like a dirty, it was kind of personal. And yeah, Yeah, man, he cut me. I don't remember doing anything crazy. I just knew I was kind of arrogant and I was cocky, and it was kind of like he wanted to like teach me a lesson. And I had gotten so much better that senior year though. But he cut me though, bro. And you know what's funny though? That sparked, he cut me my senior year, right? I didn't play. I knew I really couldn't go to college like that. So because I had transferred from that other school, I was able to graduate from high school a semester early though. So I didn't even go to high school my senior year. And then
how did you graduate a semester early if you didn't go to high school though?
Well, so basically because I transferred because I went to this school in one region in the city of Atlanta, then I transferred to Fulton County schools. They had 2 different requirements for graduation. So by the time I got to my senior year, a lot of people can graduate early. You know those seniors that they're taking 4 PE classes. Sure. So to me, since I got cut, I didn't want to be in school. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I just got cut. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be like, no, you know. So I graduated a semester early, didn't go that last semester, and then I went and I took off my fall semester in college. I didn't go to college my first semester, the fall semester. But that year, that's when I went to barber school though. And then I went to college that spring semester. And that fall, I walked on to the school. It was a Division III, because it was funny too. I mean, it's a long story. I was supposed to go to New Brunswick just for school, Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Because I took off that first fall semester, they were just like, yo, we got this big orientation for freshmen. We don't like our freshmen to come mid-semester, because, you know, Rutgers, New Brunswick, they got buses. I was at Livingston College, so it was just like, go to Rutgers, Newark. It's a smaller campus for a semester and then transfer in the fall. But once I got there, I was like, oh, they got a Division III team. Like, I kind of like this. I was like, I might be able to walk on. So I walked on, and I played there. And it's funny, too, the coach that I walked on with, he brought me on. He left that freshman year. He got a job at Central Connecticut. Then they had a new coach, and it's like whenever you get a coaching change, I was like, all right, I'm out, because I didn't get no playing time my freshman year. I was a walk-on. They brought a new coach. Most of the time they recruit, they get their own little roster. But for whatever reason, I guess he was new. He kept me on the roster. So I was like, oh, okay. So I was on the team the sophomore year. I didn't really play until the end of the semester. I ended up getting some playing time, and then that junior year I was starting, and I messed around and quit my senior year. And then he brought me back. College was the best 4 years of my life.
Yeah.
You know, like I can remember some specific belly laughs. I'm gonna tell you, this is when that's kind of when I realized that I could do comedy though. I remember we used to get high and we used to just roast people. And it was me, and I remember it would get to a point, it would just grow. We would get high and we would be drunk and we'd be in the dorms, and the people, before we knew it, people would just be like coming, and it was just like we created this audience. And it wasn't just me, it was me and like 2 other guys, but like people from the hall, it would be like a thing, you know. But it was
like open mic night.
Yeah, it would just be, people would just be roasting and just like, you know that. But like I remember having some solid laughs. Like I can remember some specific laughs. You ever remember like a specific belly laugh where it's just like, yo, that was one of the best laughs of my life.
Yes.
It was in college, you know. I had so much fun, man. Like I got depressed when I left college, man. I had to go see a shrink.
Did you move back to Atlanta after that?
I stayed in New York and Jersey for a little bit, but like I was depressed, man. Like I thought my life was over with, man. Like what else is there to do, you know? And then I
get more laughs as you've done, dude.
Yeah, I ended up going back to graduate. I ended up going to graduate school too, though.
Oh, no way. Where?
Yeah. I went to graduate school at Georgia State. Yeah, so. Okay. So yeah, that's probably had something to do with me. I miss school so much.
Is that the Drake song?
What?
The tuition is handled by some. Is that Georgia State? She go to Georgia State where tuition is handled by some random that live in Atlanta that she only see when she feel obligated.
Yeah. Georgia State got some nice looking women, man.
Yeah, what's up with that? Why? It's just a lot of girls from Atlanta go there, right?
You know why Georgia State is known to have some nice looking? I think Atlanta is just known for nice looking women in general. You know, you got Spelman. You know, that's like an all women school. Clark Atlanta. Georgia Tech, but Georgia State is a unique school in a sense where it's kind of like, it's not an HBCU, and it's not like Georgia Tech, and it's you know, it's diverse. So Georgia State will attract like this unique type of woman. Like you might meet somebody at Georgia State that like that's like you'll never see in the city of Atlanta though. Like you'll meet like an Ethiopian. He's like, I didn't even know there was Ethiopians, or like you might even meet like, so like Georgia State is kind of diverse. So like you'll meet somebody in Atlanta that, you know, it's like women that go to Georgia State that don't really fit the like Atlanta mold, that are like diamonds in the rough. So I think that's why. So when he said Georgia State, I was like, okay, I know what we're talking about. Yeah, it's the thing.
He knows about it.
Yeah,
That's like the guy who you cut his hair and the Young Jeezy. He knows about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Drake
he knows about it. Exactly. Yeah, but
did you know of anyone who went pro in like football or basketball from your town?
Yeah, man. Let me see. Personally,
some athletes, yeah, maybe the same year as you.
I know, like I knew a couple guys that went. Anybody I know that went pro? There was a dude in my class. I didn't really know him personally. I knew him in passing. This dude, he played for Indiana. A dude named Jamison Brewer. A dude named Jamie. You know what I mean? I remember he went pro. Who else? I knew a couple guys that went Division I. A couple guys I grew up with. They played at division. They played at University of Indiana.
Oh wow!
And they went to the Final Four. Yo, you know what's crazy? So this is a funny story though. You're supposed to be talking about comedy, but
nah, dude, come on.
Yeah, so basically, this was like the crazy situation. So I worked in this barbershop inside this 24-hour basketball gym called Run and Shoot. Right. This is when I was playing Division III college basketball.
What was it? What was Running Shoes? The name of the gym?
It's called Run and Shoot.
Oh, I thought you said Running Shoe.
So it's called Run and Shoot. So I played. So I worked in this barbershop. It was this 24-hour gym. I was a finance major in undergrad at this time too. So they had this pro-am. Like it was, you know what a pro-am is. Like it's like all these pro ball players, they come and they play for the summer. So they had
and like good high school players being amateurs.
Well, no, not necessarily high school, but good Division I basketball players. So it's like pros and high level D1 players, right?
Who was the amateur in then? You said like the
pro-ams. So like you would have NBA guys, you would have overseas guys, you would have like Division I guys though. And so they had this pro-am in the city of Atlanta, and this was this 24-hour gym. And I was like, yo, the owner used to come into the shop. So I used to be like, yo, bro, like, why you ain't got a team in the pro-am? I was like, it's Run and Shoot. Like, this exemplifies basketball. He was like, yeah, man, I was like, yo, I'll put together the team. And he was just like, I was like 16. I was like 17 at this time, right? And I was like, yo, it just costs $800 to get a team. You know, you could pay for everything. And the dude, and I sold it to him. I like put together like
How much does a winner get?
Well, you don't even get like anything, but it's just like just to have a team. It's just like businesses will create a team. It's kind of like some EBC type, you know, like, you know. So he cut me a check for the $800, right? I started a team, right? And I put myself on it. I was the only Division III basketball player on this squad, right? Probably in the league. Then I put two of the guys I grew up with. They were basketball players at the University of Indiana that year, right? So we were the only three college players on the pro-am team. We got our ass whooped. Like we lost. I mean, I remember like dudes were giving us buckets. Damon Stoudemire and everybody was. But the crazy part about it was we played. It really helped my game. After that summer, I had my best year in college though. And after that summer, the two guys that I played with on the pro-am at University of Indiana, they went to the Final Four that year though, right? So not only did they go to the Final Four, but they went to the national championship game. And the national championship game was in Atlanta though. So you gotta realize I was rooting for them.
Did you go?
I didn't go. I was in school in New Jersey though. But you gotta realize, but when I was in school over the summer, because I had videos of me playing in a pro-am with my guys, I remember my coach and everybody was watching. He was like, yo, these are the guys that you was playing in the pro-am with. So it was so cool to see them in the national championship game. We played together that summer. And then for them, but it just goes to show what it did for our game, because we was getting beat up by pros that whole summer though. So not only did I have my best year, these guys obviously had their best year though. It was so crazy. They went to the national championship game in Atlanta though. Like that's like a fairy tale. To be a Division I basketball player, to make it to the Final Four and the national championship, and it's in your city.
So that was the highlight of their career, those two guys?
Somebody that I knew, like, cause like they used to have a lot of parties. I heard the party they had that night was bananas. Like dudes were calling me from the party, like, yo, you need to fly down. They was like, yo, bro, this party is bananas.
We got like, bottle service here at the frat house.
Exactly. It was like this dude used to throw these house parties. And it was so crazy too, because they didn't even win. They ended up losing the national championship. And it was probably because they was just hanging. You know what I mean? But like, so those are a couple guys. Neither one of them ended up. I think one of them ended up, I don't know if he got drafted, but like, those are the closest guys, anybody that like really play high level though, you know.
What's that weather like in Atlanta now that it's snowing outside in New York?
Well, Atlanta's kind of, Atlanta's kind of
like, does it get below 32 degrees? It doesn't really snow.
Doesn't really
what?
get that cold, and it sometimes it will, but Atlanta's not a walking city though. So you driving most of the time.
Not even in the city center. You can't really walk.
Yeah,
around?
you can walk around. Like people do probably walk in town, like you living in the city downtown. But most people are driving. So even if it is cold, it doesn't really. Yeah.
You
definitely
don't need to like heat up the car.
Exactly.
It's already pretty good. How do you feel the Atlanta comedy scene has grown since you started here?
Like Atlanta, let me tell you something. Atlanta's got some solid comics, man. I'm always been an advocate of comedians outside of New York because to me, I feel like
I remember when the other night you were with your buddy from what was he from, like DC or somewhere?
Rollo, man.
Okay.
Like I feel as though like New York is where all of the best comedians from all over the country come because this is where the industry is. But I've been in some cities, in Atlanta, in particular, where like it's some funny guys, man, that just are not in the city. If they were in the city and they were working on a regular basis, they would easily get like, some TV gigs and just get so many more opportunities. But like Atlanta's got some strong comics though.
Well, but if you're saying that if they move, they would get more opportunities, what's stopping them? Besides,
a lot of times you'd be surprised, man. Like I think the hardest part about being a stand-up comedy is like getting to New York though. You'd be surprised. I mean, we're lucky, like we live here, we figured out a way to, but like you got like there's some comedians that have lives, they got families or they got jobs that you just can't easily.
Something like, dude, if you had kids with your divorced wife, like that's a whole new ball
exactly.
Game.
So like it's harder to move to New York than you think it is, especially if you
definitely.
Yeah, so like, but Atlanta's got a solid comedy scene. They got the Laugh and Score Comedy Club that I have a relationship with. So it's probably one of the best comedy clubs, showcase style. They pay good, just a solid professional club. And then you got Atlanta Comedy Theater, it's basically headliner clubs. And that's really, and then you got Uptown Comedy Corner, which is like, like more on the urban scene with comedy. But yeah, Atlanta's got some solid, man. Yeah, Atlanta's got a nice little scene,
Do you think that T.I., former rapper turned, I guess, comedian now, has helped the Atlanta comedy scene? I know that like a lot of people have been tuning in now to
I think for sure though, like to me, I think it was like flattering to see somebody that's like been successful in music, successful rap career, been on films in the like coming our world, like, and like,
basically started from scratch.
Exactly.
Like, obviously a lot of people are coming out to see him, but
yeah,
he knows
like a lot of people. And then T.I. is funny, and a lot of people don't know the history of like T.I. was always heavily involved in comedy though. Like I think they had a comedy night at this club on Ashby Street like a while back. Like he was always involved in comedy though. And then T.I. is a funny guy. So I could see him, doing it. And I think a lot of people were feeling some type of way because they felt like he was kind of using his fame. He was getting a lot of opportunities. Well, that's a choice that he's made. But like to me, I thought it was flattering. When I saw T.I. was doing comedy, I was like, oh, okay. Like that's like, just imagine somebody that's, they don't have to do this and they want to do this, But I think it helped the scene though, and yeah, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people were talking about how he wasn't funny. He was just new. Like, I don't understand why comedians do that when they talk trash about new. Like we weren't never new.
I think sometimes comedian would be more in a way to talk trash is if like somebody has 1 million followers on TikTok and then all of a sudden they start doing comedy and they're selling out 300 seat theaters. That's when some comics who have been in the industry for a few years, they'll get a little bitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see the frustration. I mean, but it's just,
if one person eats, I feel like everybody has an opportunity to eat.
Exactly. And I think for comedians, we got to be careful. And I can get in that space too, like I think we got to keep the focus on ourselves, man. I think that bitterness, that jealousy, like, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, if you do what you do, you put the work in, you're going to get what you're supposed to get though, And I think, and that came back to the whole idea of doing the album. I think it's like, let me focus on what can I do? Because when you totally engulfed in what you can do for your career, you really ain't got time to think about nobody else.
Like, think about how you were like, all right, I'm not getting as many spots. You could have just been like, all right, I'm not getting as many spots. Like, what the hell? What the hell?
I mean,
Instead, you friggin' made an album.
Yeah, and I was starting to get in that space, you know, and I could see myself, you know, you scrolling on Instagram, you like, dang, man, how he on? You know what I mean? Like, I ain't getting no spots this month. They got him up, you know? So I said, what can I do before? And so that's that whole thing about looking at, I just think that that's just kind of unhealthy. I know everybody, we can get into that space, but I think we want to be careful with it, you know? You know what's funny though? It's a funny story. One of my buddies that I started with, there was somebody we started with that got passed to the Comedy Cellar. And I was excited. And I told him, I was like, yo, man, so-and-so got passed to the Comedy Cellar. You know, we started with him. And, you know, that says, you know, I'm excited because it's like, if he's up, then that means, you know, maybe we not too far away. And he said something like he wasn't all that happy. He was just like, yeah, I heard about it. And I remember calling him out. And I told him, I said, yo, these are the seeds of hate. I was like, yo, you about this is how haters are born right now, though. I could tell, like, you about to turn into a hater because he wasn't happy. I was excited, you know, like, yo, guess who? And so, like, I know, you know, it's easy for anybody to get in that space.
In any field.
Yeah, in any field. You know, you're human, you know, you got emotions, you know, so, like, you know, you gonna have that feeling. But I think you need to be proactive about like dealing with it and processing it, and then trying not to feed it though, because I think it's counterproductive. And now you this angry, bitter comedian. Now you spazzing out. Now, you know, don't nobody want to work with you. You know, now you talking about who's funny. You know, funny. You know, I just think you want to be careful with that though. You know. So
100%. You gotta be looking in that mirror, make sure you're doing
just focus
everything
on
you
yourself,
can.
man. Yeah. I mean, like, totally. You got your podcast, man. This is dope. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Chris. I think that's a good place to end this, bro. I really appreciate you coming
man,
on.
Always,
dude.
man. I hope I wasn't talking too much.
No,
man.
dude, you're freaking great. So before we get out of here, this freaking Friday, listen to Chris Brown's album, dude. Where can we find this album? And Spotify, shout out your Instagram,
Apple Music,
please.
Chris Brown Comedy, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music. All of the streaming platforms, man, you know. So, yeah, man, come check me out, man. Keep following, keep supporting Ted Jones. It's a good dude, man.
Let's go, Chris Brown, my man, dude. To a long, freaking fruitful relationship of friendship. Yeah. Chris, thanks so much for coming on.
Likewise.
Guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.